to which members of both houses dedicate yourselves with such personal commitment for the betterment of us all.
What secrets are buried beneath the crown? And why is Camilla so desperate to keep them hidden? Why did King Charles suddenly hand power to William and Catherine, bypassing the woman once promised a central place at his side? Behind the polished smiles and royal wave lies a world of whispered betrayals, secret meetings, and hidden agendas. Could this power shift be tied to something darker, something the public was never meant to know? Keep watching, because the truth lurking behind palace doors is more twisted than anyone imagined. The public had grown used to Queen Camilla standing beside King Charles, graceful at banquets, poised on palace balconies, upholding the image of royal stability. But behind the scenes, everything was shifting. Quiet whispers among aides soon became louder in political circles. A change was coming, not in decades, but in days. Charles had made a decision, one that excluded both himself and Camilla from leading the monarchy forward. Camilla had endured years of public scorn and palace politics to finally wear the crown. But survival is not succession, and power that's borrowed can be quietly reclaimed. With no grand announcement, Charles appointed William and Catherine as the monarchy's de facto rulers, not in the future, but now. The transition began subtly. Empty calendars, reassigned staff, and royal duties redirected. Sources say Charles wasn't motivated by illness but by legacy. Aware of growing indifference toward his reign, he saw William and Kate as the monarchy's best hope, young, admired, and globally respected. At a disastrous Commonwealth event where Charles faltered, Catherine stepped up, leaving diplomats wondering if they were meeting the true leaders. Privately, Charles signed a decree naming William and Catherine as regents in trust, quietly shifting power without formal abdication. Palace staff now follow what's been dubbed the Cambridge Directive. Though Charles remains king in title, real control has passed on. One advisor remarked, he didn't need parliament, just a pen and a purpose. Behind the move lies tension, scandals tied to Camilla's family, worsening relations with Kate, and pressure from Princess Anne. Ultimately, Charles chose the crown over his marriage, ensuring the monarchy's survival, but leaving Camilla in the shadows of history. Ask ChatGPT. There was no grand ceremony, no royal address, no balcony proclamation, yet the power quietly shifted. William and Catherine now lead the monarchy, and Camilla wasn't even told. This wasn't a handoff, it was a silent coup. For a moment, Camilla believed she'd finally won. After years of scandal and being cast as the villain in Diana's story, she stood beside the king as queen consort, a title she wore with pride. She moved quickly, reshaping palace staff, taking on patronages, and subtly dropping consort from her title. Some say she was building a legacy, others saw growing arrogance. Tensions with Catherine rose, especially over seniority at events. But despite Camilla's efforts, the public never fully embraced her. Polls dropped, critics grew louder, and online backlash, led by Diana's younger fans, was relentless. Even world leaders seemed to favor Kate, often sidelining Camilla in photos and meetings. The crown may have been placed on her head, but the power and the people were never truly hers. But the most incriminating warning came from inside the palace gates. According to many insiders, Camilla began seeking briefing packets that were no longer being supplied. Invitations that had previously landed in her inbox were now routed to Catherine. Foreign dignitaries who arranged tea with the Queen were informed that Her Majesty's availability was limited. However, the Princess of Wales was willing to accommodate them. The illusion was fracturing. Camilla saw them as scheduling errors. Perhaps Charles had neglected to include her. Perhaps the staff committed clerical mistakes. However, the fact was considerably more calculated. Her power was being eroded piece by piece behind her back and without a single public statement. The queen consort seemed to be simply queen by title, but Catherine discreetly established herself as the face, voice, and soul of the contemporary monarchy. Camilla wore the crown, but Catherine captured the hearts of the people. In the domain of monarchy, love is frequently more important than authority. Camilla continued to stroll the hallways with her head held high, smiled for cameras, and delivered lectures on the importance of literature and women's health. However, behind closed doors, employees began to detect her anger. She asked more questions. She double-checked her itinerary. She appeared uneasy. Camilla knew deep within she'd spent her entire life pursuing a crown, but it had never really been hers. And suddenly, she could feel it slide through her gloved fingers. There has been no major announcement. There is no television address. There is no royal parade through the streets of London. But those who pay close attention, those within the palace and the halls of power, know one thing for certain: William and Catherine have already begun reigning. Not in the usual sense. They have not been crowned. The throne inside the abbey has remained unchanged. Charles still signs state documents. However, the genuine levers of power are gradually being handed to the Prince and Princess of Wales. It began with tiny adjustments. Couriers who formerly informed King Charles now report directly to William. Senior workers who arranged Camilla's events are now part of Catherine's new extended team. Budgets that were formerly approved off by Clarence House are now evaluated in Kensington. In a span of months, the monarchy's invisible superstructure has been transformed, from Charles and Camilla to William and Kate. What's more astonishing is that the public hasn't even been informed. Because they do not need to be. They already know. At a recent climate meeting in Germany, William, not Charles, gave the main presentation to a room full of international leaders. Catherine, not Camilla, sat alongside first ladies and female heads of state, participating in diplomatic discussion with seamless grace. The cameras caught it. The press devoured it. The next day's headlines made no mention of Charles or Camilla. The world had turned its attention to a different pair, a younger, more stable, and loving duo. A similar trend has emerged within the United Kingdom. Catherine now oversees the palace's family and child development activities with full ministerial support, a position historically held by the Queen Consort. William has also been cited chairing royal advisory sessions, which are traditionally reserved for the sitting king. Staff no longer cringe at this. They anticipate it. It is not only ceremonial, it is structural. According to royal biographers, it is unparalleled in contemporary history for a king to delegate so much authority without abdicating. But Charles, they feel, is attempting to have it both ways. Keep the crown in name while ensuring the monarchy's long-term survival through a stealth transition. A handover by deed rather than announcement. What about the British public? They are embracing it. Polls show an increase in support for the monarchy, but only when connected with William and Catherine. Any mention of Camilla continues to result in a dramatic reduction in popularity, and Charles has failed to connect with younger generations. In contrast, Kate and William's popularity has become a stabilizing influence, particularly in a post-Brexit, post-pandemic Britain looking for optimism and authenticity. Even the royal protocol is changing to accommodate them. During state visits, embassies now provide two sets of briefings, one for the king and another, frequently more comprehensive, for the Welsh. Behind the scenes, international dignitaries have begun booking trips to Kensington Palace before Buckingham, well aware that this is where the actual choices are being made. The public continues to believe that Charles and Camilla are in charge. However, those who pay attentively may see that William and Catherine are already wearing the crown, albeit without the coronet. This is not a ceremonial trial. This is not training. It is not symbolic. It is power, real, recognizable, and already in action. Although Charles retains the title of king and Camilla remains queen consort, they no longer lead the kingdom. They are occupying time, because history has already turned a page. Long before Catherine donned a tiara, William muttered vows at the altar, and the world addressed her as Her Royal Highness. Another lady redefined what royalty could look like. She was known as the People's Princess. She was also a mother, a rebel, a traditionalist's heartbreaker. Even in death, Diana Spencer remained in the throne room. Her shadow hovered over all royal photographs. Charles's cool public appearances. Camilla gave a strange smile. Diana was never deleted, only silenced. But not for long. As Catherine takes control, Diana's ghost returns to life. Because for millions of people in Britain and throughout the world, this moment seems like poetic justice. Not simply a transfer of power, but a correction to history. The crown may have bypassed Diana, but it was always intended to rest on a woman like her. Catherine represents the continuance of Diana's elegance, compassion, and quiet resistance. The analogy is tough to overlook. Kate, like Diana, exudes elegance without being remote. She smiled as if she meant it. She cuddles kids without asking for permission. Her causes are real, her efforts steady, and her demeanor captivating. Unlike Camilla, who has battled to get respect, Kate elicits admiration. And even the monarchy is aware of this. According to royal advisors, Catherine is the stabilizing anchor the crown needs, and the popular reaction to her visits frequently outnumbers that of Charles and Camilla combined. People chant her name. The children grasp for her hand. Even longtime monarchy skeptics concede that Kate feels like royalty chosen by the public. Behind the scenes, William is reported to be highly aware of the symbolism involved. According to palace sources, Charles's choice to secretly elevate William and Kate was both political and personal. William, still horrified by the public unraveling of his mother's life, has promised that the institution would never fail another woman he loves. As authority passed from his father to him, and from Camilla to Catherine, Diana's voice resonated in every choice. She is not forgotten. She's the cause. Social media has only heightened the feeling. Viral videos show Diana and Catherine side by side, cradling infants outside the hospital wing, soothing sad relatives, and navigating the minefield of public criticism with steadfast grace. One popular tweet stated, "She didn't live to wear the crown. However, her daughter-in-law will." And Camilla, she is aware that the tide has turned. According to reports, she is becoming increasingly agitated by the constant parallels. Sources claim she once prohibited a staff member from discussing Diana during a meeting. But it's useless. The monarchy may attempt to create its own account of events, but the people have already chosen their queen, the one who continues Diana's legacy quietly and powerfully, rather than the one who was crowned alongside Charles. In every sense, this was always intended for Kate. She did not claw her way to the throne. She did not demand a crown. She earned it, by dedication, quiet, and the unwavering support of a bereaved country that never stopped adoring Diana, and now finds her reflection in the Princess of Wales. So when Charles delegated authority to William and Catherine, he was not just appointing heirs. He was restoring Diana's dream, which she had never realized. In doing so, he assured that Camilla's brief, fragile, and unwelcome rule would not just end. It was being replaced by the Lady Diana would have proudly addressed as her daughter. Camilla had tightened her grip on power for years. She thought she had earned her place with every pearl, every curtsy. She withstood the controversy, the gossip, and Diana's ghosts. She stood with Charles despite public contempt and private illness. So when she was crowned queen consort, she felt it as a due recompense rather than a gift. However, power within the royal family is not declared, it is given and readily taken away. Camilla's collapse did not occur in a single instant. It arrived in waves. Her schedule gradually became more manageable. Catherine was now in charge of events she had previously hosted. Palace briefings that she used to get never came. Her attempts to be included in high-level meetings were overlooked, sometimes citing limited seating or private senior consultation. The truth? She was getting marginalized, gradually. Then came the moment that made it unmistakable. At a recent royal engagement in Scotland, a place that has traditionally been more welcoming to Camilla than others, the throng waiting outside Balmoral did something shocking. As Catherine left her vehicle, the audience cheered, hoisted their cameras, and yelled her name. But when Camilla walked out only a few minutes later, there was stillness. No boos. No cheers. Simply a thick, echoing disinterest. One spectator allegedly commented, "It felt like she was invisible." Camilla was calm inside the palace. According to many sources, Camilla became enraged when she learned of King Charles's classified letter designating William and Catherine as the monarchy's acting heads. According to one tale, she marched into Charles's study at Clarence House and addressed him immediately. "You promised me the crown. How dare you give it to her?" Charles did not dispute the ruling. He did not argue. He just said, "It's what the country needs." It was a catastrophic blow, not simply to Camilla's pride but also her identity. Everything she had battled for was unraveling with no official statement, press release, or explanation. Only murmurs and chilly shoulders. Behind closed doors, palace staff ceased referring to her as Her Majesty. Staff she trusted started demanding reassignments to Kensington. Camilla allegedly lashed out in frustration. One insider stated she ordered the removal of all Diana photographs from Clarence House. Again, she cancelled engagements, many of them annual events. She stopped accepting calls from long-time charitable partners. And worst of all, she had lost the ear of the one person who used to protect her from the storm, Charles himself. The king had made his decision. He was not reversing it. The royal machine had already moved on. The British press, smelling blood in the water, began to change its tone as well. Headlines that formerly referred to her as a resilient queen now read, "Camilla quietly retreats." Pundits speculated if the queen consort was drawing back owing to health or shame. Even friends in Parliament provided no protection. Nobody was coming to her rescue because, in fact, the crown was never fully hers. She wore it absolutely, but she never carried the weight of popular affection with her. And now, when William and Catherine ascend without ceremony, Camilla feels more lonely than ever. This was more than simply a step down. It was a quiet exile. A queen was dethroned without a single headline. A lady who has struggled her entire life to be noticed is now being quietly and painstakingly eliminated. And the worst part, it was not done with fury. It was executed with calm, controlled elegance. The type only a future queen like Catherine could provide. There was no spectacular abdication. There will be no broad declaration. No crimson velvet curtain was drawn back with regal grandeur. But make no mistake, the monarchy has changed hands. Behind the regal smiles and official silence, a subtle revolution has occurred. King Charles remains on the throne, but the authority he formerly commanded has shifted, deliberately and decisively, to Prince William and Princess Catherine. With that move, Queen Camilla's reign came to an unceremonious conclusion. She may still wear the crown. She may still appear alongside Charles at the rare function. But behind the royal gates, everyone knows the truth. Camilla's actual power has been taken away. Her schedule was cleared. Her voice softened. And her presence disappeared, not by scandal or public outrage, but by irrelevance. And that, in royal terms, is the sharpest cut. Meanwhile, William and Catherine go on, not just as heirs, but as leaders. Trusted, loved, and empowered. They are already reshaping the monarchy for a new age, making it leaner, more personable, and more connected to the people than it has been in decades. And whether deliberate or not, each step they take feels like a restoration of what Diana lost. A grace. A warm feeling. A link. Camilla's narrative may have concluded with a crown on her head, but it did not include a kingdom that fully welcomed her. She sought legality, struggled for recognition, and eventually joined her husband as queen, but in the end, her authority was always on loan. Now it has been regained. The British monarchy has begun a new chapter, one marked not by controversy or hostility, but by calm correction. William and Kate did not take the crown away from Camilla. They did not have to. The people picked them. Charles recognized them. When the palace sensed the winds of change, it simply followed. Camilla now observes from the sidelines. Her place safe in name but not in history. Because the tale of this royal transition will not revolve around the lady who briefly wore the crown. It will be about the queen that the world has been waiting for, and the future she has already begun to create. like and subscribe the channel for more interesting updates.